Hello, I'm Steve Saul. Welcome to Northwest. Today, these are our top stories this Friday lunchtime. Jail for the man caught after raping multiple women at knife point in Manchester. The Lancashire village where the locals are volunteering to help keep the community alive. And plans to refurbish the barn at Burnley's Gawthorpe Hall as part of the National Trust's anniversary. First today, a man described by police as a dangerous sexual predator has been sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 18 years for raping multiple women at knife point in Manchester. Stuart Thompson, who's 34 and from Stockport, was found guilty of 9 charges, including 3 of rape and 1 of attempted rape, following a trial at Manchester Crown Court. Jamie Mountain has more.
When my colleague put you back in his cell, you said to him, "You're too good looking to do an ID parade." Is that correct?
No comment.
No comment. That was the answer to every question the police asked, but detectives were still able to piece together the evidence they needed.
Stuart Thompson was quite an arrogant individual from the start. He essentially behaved like he hadn't done anything wrong. He certainly never showed any remorse for his actions.
Officers had been called to the Mancunian Way in January last year by a woman who said she'd been raped at knife point. While at the scene, a second victim reported that the same thing had happened to her, and a day later, 2 more victims came forward alleging rape and attempted rape at the same place, both, again, at knife point. Using detailed descriptions of the attacker to trawl CCTV footage, police tracked 34-year-old Thompson's movements through the streets of Manchester, wearing a distinctive jacket and high-vis T-shirt. While following a lead at a hostel, Thompson was spotted wearing the same jacket and arrested on site. Further searches uncovered other items of his clothing which had been described by the victims. After pleading not guilty to 3 counts of rape, 1 of attempted rape, 1 of sexual assault, and 4 knife-related offences, Thompson was found guilty on all counts by a jury in November following a 10-day trial at Manchester Crown Court.
During the trial, he was rude, he was arrogant, he became aggressive with some of the jurors. And just there was never an inch of remorse on his face.
Today, a judge sentenced Thompson to life in prison with a minimum term of 18 years. She said he'd shown an intense hatred for women and committed a premeditated campaign of rape against vulnerable victims. The court was also told that Thompson had a history of sexual offences starting when he was 15, including the sexual assault of a 5-year-old girl. Police think there may be other victims and are appealing for them to come forward, but for now, Stuart Thompson has been safely put behind bars. Jamie Mountain, BBC Northwest Today.
Police have seized a Tesla car in Whitefield because it's illegal to drive it in the UK. Officers posted the picture of this Cybertruck outside a filling station. They say the vehicle doesn't conform to British safety standards. Business owners in Liverpool's Chinatown are hoping investment in its public spaces will encourage more people to visit the area. Council documents show half the businesses on Nelson Street are empty, and despite 400,000 people visiting the Chinese Arch every year, few people linger in the area. Cash injections coming from developers.
It'd be really nice to see it come back and attract all the locals back to the area and see it become more lively, like it used to be back when the arch got put up around 2000. Liverpool Chinatown is one of the oldest Chinese communities in Europe, so it's very important to preserve this.
Next, the Lancashire village of Trawden near Cone has been attracting attention from across the world for the way its communities rallied round to revitalise facilities and village life. Now, residents run more of their own services than anywhere else in the country. Stuart Pollett reports now on how they did it and whether it's working.
Trawden is unique, a place that's taken community ownership to the next level.
As far as we know, we are the only village with a community centre, a shop, a library and a pub in community ownership.
But you have the empire here.
Yes, yeah, it's great.
The story started a decade ago with Stephen.
Our local authority, Pendle Council, announced that they were going to close the community centre, and would a community group
be interested in taking it over. I'll never forget taking the keys on the 7th of October 2014 and thinking, my goodness, what have we done?
But the villagers refurbished the library building and realised their plans could work. When the last village shop closed, the community decided to open their own.
2 cards.
2 cards. Now where are cards on here?
It's now staffed entirely by volunteers like Pat and Gillian. Molly has to coordinate them all.
The name is still at the top, so how do we get rid of that? We need 68 different volunteers just to do 1 shift a week to keep the shop open, which is a big ask. But it's lovely, people look out for each other. There is a real sense of community, and that is a lot to do with the community centre and the shop being here.
Villagers have really invested time and money in their community. Out of a population of around 2,000, more than 100 are regular volunteers in the various services. More than 400 spent their own money to help save their local pub.
We needed to raise, round numbers, £500,000.
No free pints for them though?
No free pints, not even for me. I do it all for love.
Could other places easily follow Trawden's example?
It would be easier if local authorities and county councils made it easier to take over redundant public buildings. I do believe it's the way forward for small communities. We'd have none of these services now if we as a charity hadn't taken them on.
Now, the National Trust is celebrating its 130th anniversary this year, and to mark it, they've announced some ambitious plans for the next decade, and one of the biggest projects taking place in Padiham near Burnley. Let's get more from our reporter Judy Hobson, who's been finding out more.
Well, this is the Great Barn at Gawthorpe Hall. It's 420 years old and a Grade 1 listed building, but it can't be used at the moment because the roof is in desperate need of repair. But it's one of the projects that's been announced by the National Trust to celebrate its 130-year anniversary.
It was built in 1605. Its primary purpose back then was agricultural. I think when they built it, they were just really they invested a lot of time and thought into it to make it such an incredible structure. But it was used as a grain store. It was one of the oldest ox stalls in the country inside, and it was primarily agricultural purpose. I'm quite lucky that I work here, so I get to see this building every day, but having this open to the public would be a really good addition. And then as well as that, we're also really keen to see how we can use this with local people as well.
The National Trust has announced lots of big projects for the North West, and it includes creating a huge new woodland at Lunt Village in Sefton near Merseyside.
We need to go bigger, we need to do more, we need to work harder, and we're going to be doing it with the help of our supporters, our volunteers, our staff and our partners. So we want to be able to restore nature, we want to be able to inspire people to take action where they live, and we want to be able to end unequal access to nature, beauty and history as well. That's our main goal, all in service of people.
The National Trust hope projects like this will encourage people to come and make the most of their cultural heritage and the natural environment.
That's some sport now, and Erling Haaland has signed a new 9.5-year deal with Manchester City. 24-year-old's committed his future to the club until the summer of 2034. His previous deal was set to expire in 2027. Manchester United turned what? Right, let's get a check on the weather now. Details from Corazon.
Good afternoon. So quiet spell of weather for the next few days. That's because we've got some high pressure in charge sitting over the continent, keeping those weather fronts at bay. But it is drawing up colder air. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. So this afternoon, more of the same really. Cloudy, but it's staying dry and it is settled. We'll see highs stay of around 7, 8, maybe pushing 9 degrees Celsius there. Light southerly winds going into this evening and tonight. It's staying dry. We will see more of that cloud. Some breaks, but in between those breaks we might see some mist and fog developing as well. Quite chilly, temperatures dropping just above freezing there. So going into the next few days, like I say, the temperatures start to fall away into Saturday and Sunday. We're drawing up colder air from the continent where it is very cold, so you'll need your thick coats.
Thanks, Corazon. That's it from me and the Lunchtime team for now. Thanks for watching. We'll have more on that great story of the village coming together in Trawden tonight at 6:30. So join us for North West tonight for that here on BBC One. Now back downstairs to the BBC News at 1. Bye-bye.